Okay, so in this video, I'm going to walk you through my full service delivery guide. This is from when I was working in the kitchen remodeling space for the old clients that I had. I'm going to walk you through the ads that we ran, the creatives, the copywriting that we did, as well as the targeting. And then I'm going to actually show you how we nurtured those leads and converted the leads into appointments so that my client could actually go and sell the leads and make money and return on investment on our services. So if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Ben Lister. I primarily help agency owners with outreach and closing deals and making more money. But in this video, we're going to focus on the actual service delivery side of things, which is obviously pretty important as well. So let's jump into the computer and see how this thing works. Okay, so we're in one of the ad accounts here that I have for an old client. You can see that it's been deleted here. So this is from quite a while ago. It's from towards the start of the year, really. But this account, it was only running for a couple of months. We spent, £1,300, which is like $1,600, something like that. And we were able to generate about 75 leads in total, giving us a cost per lead of £17.53, which is really good, to be fair, because we are not working with gyms here. We're not working with, low ticket products. Every single person that buys a kitchen is going to spend at least £5,000, £6,000, £7,000, £8,000. The average order value here was over £10,000, so it's a really good return on investment. But obviously it depends how we can convert those leads, which I'll show you in just a second. So yeah, because we're working in quite a small area here, the actual reach was really small compared to the impressions. If I just go and add the frequency on here, almost a 6 frequency, which you might think is almost too high, but these ads were running for a little while, and we were consistently generating leads with this, so it wasn't really an issue. I would only pay attention to this number if I noticed that the amount of leads that were coming in was slowly starting to decrease, and at that point obviously we can change ads and change copywriting and things like that. But basically that's what we did with this campaign. So if I just come in here, okay, so I have to go into like the recent history to open this, because it's a really old campaign, and this campaign was actually deleted. But if I just open up this one here, what we were doing is a lot of people would normally post pictures of the actual the client's work itself, or maybe even like a compilation of different stuff they've done in the past, or maybe some like stock images or things like that. But what we did was, with some of the campaigns we did do that, obviously, in some of the ad sets we did, but sometimes we would just use like basic stock imagery of just people in a kitchen. And the reason we do something like this was because if you're scrolling on Facebook, if you're just an ordinary person, you're scrolling through Facebook and you see something that is like super edited and it's like very commercial, you're not going to stop on that, because you instantly just assume that it's an advert, and you just have that sort of like, you just have that response where if you're scrolling through and you see an advert, or if a YouTube advert comes up, for example, you just instantly skip it straight away. So what we were doing is we were creating images that might just be from someone that they know, and it causes people to stop, right? The whole purpose of the image is to get people to actually read the copywriting, and the whole purpose of the copywriting is to get someone to go and actually click the call to action. Basically, we were using photos of families, people smiling like that. We had a few different images that we were using that worked really well, but this one was pretty successful. And when it comes to the copywriting, really simple, right? We just focus on the actual benefits of the service itself. So one thing that people talk about is a lot of time in the kitchen space is pricing of things. There's a lot of big kitchen retailers out there, specifically in the UK now, where they actually are losing money every time that they sell a kitchen. So it's a really price competitive market, and obviously if you know that about your niche specifically, then you can actually add that into your copywriting, make that like a really big selling point of your ad campaign, and then that's actually going to start to drive leads, because if you know that the market is really price sensitive, then you want to focus on pricing of things, right? The offer really isn't too important a lot of times, but the offer that we did run for a while was £100 cashback to anyone who books a free consultation, and the client basically just added this on to the original cost. A lot of times if they sold a kitchen like this, people wouldn't even ask, because once they have their appointment and the client gets the chance to actually do their sales ability and they can show them the kind of service that they can offer, that kind of goes out the window. People don't really care, because they actually just care about the quality of the kitchen and the style of kitchen that they can get. So this was a good copy and creative that we used. So this is one here where it's a bit of a long form copy. Again, we're still focusing on the same things. Just because it's a bit longer doesn't mean it's really any different. All we're saying here, and we've actually listed out some of the benefits here. So designed to your specification, right? Wide range of styles, much cheaper than the average price. So again, focusing on price, because we know that's really important for the actual market, and delivered by a local team. So obviously we called out the target market here by including the actual location, obviously, location homeowners, which is a classic things to do. And basically, because we did this, people who actually are in that category resonate with the advert, they're more likely to engage with it, they're more likely to actually just watch it for a little bit longer and read through the whole thing. And that obviously helps us with the Facebook conversions, because Facebook is going to target people that are more likely to do that from now on. A really good thing that we did was actually give next steps. This is something that I would recommend, especially if it's kind of a bit vague on what is actually happening and the next steps of the situation. So, click the link below, download a free brochure, which I can show you in just a second. Wait for one of our expert team members to get in touch with you, and obviously they can decide if our client is going to be the one that fits their kitchen. So this is the one that's a little bit more commercial. Obviously we would try different ones, so we would have this copywriting here, the same we would have this copy used with different creatives as well. So we would mix and match different ones, see which ones are working, and obviously turn different ones off that weren't working as well. So this creative here, this I'm pretty sure is stock imagery, right? Or this has come from suppliers or stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean the client has actually built these kitchens and they've, this is their work specifically, but obviously we can get away with that because the suppliers actually allow us to do things like that. And this is something that obviously you have to know in your niche and know that, why it works, and, that this is actually allowed to do. So again, if we're going to put text in the creative, which we will do sometimes for these campaigns, we're going to make it relate to the copywriting, okay? Looking for kitchen inspiration, ? And we have that here at the top, right? So it's just, again, the same continuity. If someone stops and they want to read more, then obviously this is what they're interested in. So we're going to talk about that in the actual copywriting itself, and then call to action actually in the creative, which I don't see a lot of people do, but it works well for us. And then in terms of headline here, so this can literally just be something that you would see on maybe a newspaper headline or something, kitchen experts are giving away this for free. It's almost like a YouTube title, but it works well. So that is basically how we did the copywriting and the creatives. So for the ad sets itself, I'm not sure I can open these up specifically because they have been deleted because this is a very old campaign. But what I can show you is obviously it's in the name. So we targeted, which was obviously a lead campaign. This is what we're looking for. We targeted people that were 40 and over because this is generally the market. Most homeowners are normally 40 and over. It's very rare that someone is 21 and owns a home and will be looking for a new kitchen. And then obviously you can see we made a couple of changes here, and because what was happening here, we had a lower cost per lead on this one, so we kind of went all in with it. I think the cost per lead was originally quite a bit lower than this when we started. It went down to £12 and it slowly started to rise. There's just the nature of Facebook ads, but over a short amount of time. So obviously you can see that we made a change, and we obviously got a much lower cost per result here. I believe we did switch from a landing page to a lead form pretty early on, but this result was £10 cost per lead I think originally, and then it slowly started to creep up as Facebook ads do. Even though the CTR eventually went below what we were working with before, the CPC was going up, things like that. But obviously all these metrics don't really matter as long as the actual cost per lead is within KPI, and it's actually and it's lower than what you had before. So yeah, I can't actually go in and show you the targeting and all that, but basically what we did is we just drew a circle around the town, around the location, the city that we were operating in. Sometimes if we had clients where, for example, it was like an American city, for example, and they didn't want to work in certain areas of that city, we would draw an exclusion zone. But apart from that, you would keep it pretty basic. I don't think the location matters all that much when it comes to something like this, because Facebook's going to do most of the work for you in terms of actually targeting the right kinds of people. So these were completely open targeting, so we didn't target people that had an interest in home design or anything like that, simply because those audiences would be absolutely tiny. And as well, even if we had millions and millions of people, I don't think we would do something like that, simply because Facebook has got at narrowing down the target audience to the kind of customer that we want. And if we tried to do that ourselves, I feel like Facebook's algorithm could probably do a better job of actually doing that than we could. So that's how it worked. Okay, so this is the lead form that we were running for quite a while. We had a more volume one simply because the leads that we were getting were fine. If we were getting bad leads, we'd go to a higher intent. I don't believe the rich creative thing was actually out yet. That's quite new. So we didn't run that for this campaign specifically. But yeah, just walking you through this, the main thing, obviously, you want to just keep it the same as what was on the copy. So you don't now want to all of a sudden talk about a completely different thing. You want to make sure it's the same stuff that you were talking about in the copy, so they have that consistency there. And then in terms of actually questions you want to ask on this lead form, you want to keep it as low as possible, as long as the leads are actually high quality and the leads that you're looking for. If you're having that issue, then obviously you want to ramp up the amount of questions that you're asking. But the main question that we asked here is, when are you actually looking to get the kitchen redone? We could have asked questions about budget, we could have asked questions about the type of kitchen and things like that, but that's not really relevant, right? The budget's obviously relevant, but I think that if we add the budget question in, because that's the number one thing that people don't want to talk about, you're going to have a much lower conversion rate, because people don't want to talk about how much money they have to spend. Especially this is a UK account. I think in the UK as well, that's something that a lot of people don't want to do. Maybe in America it's more likely to do that, but as well I think people are looking for a bit of a discount, looking for a bit of a bargain, aren't they? You talk about I have £10,000 to spend, for example. People are not going to give that information away too easily. They probably want to maybe give out a bit less information. I think that's why it worked well. And then contact information, literally just name, email, postcodes, that's zip code in America, then the phone number as well, so we can actually give them a text, give them a call. And in the final page we would have a book now, so this would lead us to a go high level booking page, and this is where obviously the lead could actually go through and book themselves before we even spoke to them, which is obviously great news. We'd give them a call after just to confirm a few things, but sometimes we wouldn't even have to, chase the lead up and they could just book now. This would happen maybe 10-20% of the time, not too much at all. So the lead nurturing was actually a major thing that we did. And so obviously you can see here that we're asking them to send a brochure. And I'm going to show you actually the kind of brochures that we designed, because we actually did this for our clients. It was super simple. We just used like templates, but obviously being able to show that to the client and show that, we can send this material and we can really give great marketing material out there and we can do it all ourselves. I think that really sets us apart from other agencies. Okay, so this is one of the brochures that we did. It's literally just a template that we took from somewhere on Google for a company that was in London. And it's very, very basic in terms of like actual design and stuff. We didn't have to do too much with this, but all we really did was just took information from their website, placed it into a PDF, into a brochure like this, and when you send this to a lead, to a prospect, it looks incredibly professional, and it looks like it has a bit more detail than what might be given to them by some of the other retailers out there. The tactic with this was almost to just kind of like bombard the lead with information. So like a lot of times people don't know if they want an in-frame or a beaded in-frame or a frameless or anything like that, and it doesn't really matter, but it just really proves that this business they have customers, they've done it in the past, and there's a bit of social proof in there. We have like reviews and stuff in here from previous ones, and it gives the lead something to go through, right? So when we give them a call, we have something to ask, have you gone through the brochure, right? And if they have, obviously, which they probably have because they've requested it, then we can start to talk about what did you like from the brochure? Have you seen anything in there that you like? What are you specifically looking for? And then that gives us something to actually talk about, right? So this was, like a 10-20 minute job for each client. So it really wasn't too difficult at all. And, it worked really well. Okay, so now we're in the Go High level for this account that we had. We're in the opportunities page here, so the pipeline, and you can see the leads that we had. I think we had like 75 leads that come through. I think that makes like 75 leads. And we booked like 22 appointments from this, so it was pretty successful. If I go and actually show you, how this thing worked. Okay, so obviously we'd send automated text, right? The first text we'd send would be, just dropping you the brochure in case it didn't land in your inbox. I mean, obviously it did because we did send them an email as well, but we sent it to their phone because phone has a much higher response rate. This is always the key. If you have someone's phone number, you can always text them, you can always call them. We send them a link to it, so it was just like a downloadable link. You could just view it on your phone, and then we talk about the appointment. If we didn't get a response from that, which we didn't, then we go and give them a call later in the day, just to show you how this actually worked. Okay, so this is the script that we used to use. We didn't actually stick to this like exactly, but this is basically the main framework that we did. Obviously, conversations can go in a completely different path. I'm sure if you've done cold calling before or something like that, you know that the script can change quite a lot. But just for the first few calls when we haven't actually spoke to the lead yet, basic just hello, is this the name of the lead? And they'll say, yes, who's this? And then we say, hi, this is, your name. We're working with business name. And I was calling because I wanted to thank you for downloading the brochure. So the first time we speak to them, we give them a compliment, which normally works quite well. And I said, I know you haven't had too long to read through it, but I was wondering if you could actually ask some questions about your next kitchen or your next bathroom or whatever it is, because obviously we dealt with clients in both. And obviously because we were actually managing this for our clients itself, it was pretty hands-off. Results that the client would get, it would be almost quite funny. They would just get a notification that they had an appointment. They would obviously sort out their calendar, figure out when they're available. We would just book it directly into their calendar, and that was such a hands-off approach that the clients absolutely loved. And then the next few questions that we'd ask is, are you actually in the market for one, or are you just sort of browsing? Because sometimes people would just be browsing for some reason. And then we would ask the qualifying questions, right? So this is where we would ask the questions that we didn't want to ask on the lead form, because it's much easier to ask on the phone, right? So we can ask them like, I've just, on your form you said you're looking to have something fitted in the next 3 months. Is that right? Yes, it is. Okay. And you live at this postcode? Yes, that's right. Okay. And what kind of budget are you looking for? Are you looking for something that's like, high end or something? Or, do you have, say, X amount of pounds to spend? And they would say, yes, about that, right? Because if you go for a specific amount at that point, they won't give you a specific amount. They always sort of give you like a vague range. And a lot of time, if you would say basically, well, have you got like an awful lot of money? So if we could say, have you got like £30,000 to spend? And they'll be like, no, more like 10,000. And you say, okay, and then you have an actual amount. So sometimes that would be a clever trick that we used. So if they were qualified, we go ahead and get them booked in for an appointment. So we say, what time are you available? Let's get this sorted. We can have someone come around and obviously, have a look for you and see if this is possible, and then we'd figure out a time, right? And obviously once that was done, we'd schedule them in and make sure the confirmation text was sent. And then basically, because we had a lot of different calls that we're going through with, many different times, there would be certain points where we'd have to call the lead again for a second time because they didn't book in for the first time. And so once we'd speak with them, we would just say, have you had the chance to look? And we would basically go carry on there from script one, right? So this was a bit different because it was actually, not the first time that we'd spoken to them. And so, the script for following up, so that if the leaders already spoke to an appointment setter on the phone or via text, then we'd have this one here, a voicemail script in here. So sometimes if they didn't answer, we'd drop a voicemail. And then the appointment book script. So this is really important for making sure that, short breaks are good. Obviously, if we're visiting the lead, then the short break doesn't matter too much. But it's always good to make sure that they're actually in and just to remind them of their appointment. And so what we would ask them, I just wanted to confirm that we told you that the appointment is a home visit tomorrow, it's a showroom visit, right? And then we're not actually saying, I wanted to confirm that I did tell you this, because we know that we did tell them this. But what we're doing is we're just jogging their memory and saying, hey, we did do this, right? So we're not putting the blame on them. We're saying, I can't remember for the life of me if we did do this, but they're going to go, obviously, yes, you did. And that gives them a reminder, right? So if they have forgotten, now they've been reminded, right? And this is 24 hours before the appointment. And then these are some of the follow-up messages that we did, which you can obviously pause and check out. To be honest with these, I would probably go a little bit shorter on some of these. No one has time to read like 3 sentences, I don't think. So I think the short ones are just, probably a little bit better. And as you can see, if we go back to this one here, when we did call them, I think we went back and forth a couple of times, but they booked in appointments and we confirmed it via text. This is automated, so once we add them into the campaign, then it gets automated. Then we had a few confirmations for the visit. They sent over some images which we forward to the client to basically, once they'd had their actual appointments. So just to show you how some of this automation works when we are in Go High Level, we'd have a pipeline that was actually, changing the leads and stuff. We have like a separate one for that. We probably could have done it all together. Once I know a bit more about Go High Level, I could have done this a bit more efficiently. But once it was changed to a new lead, we'd send an internal notification to us, so we would know there was a new lead. So one of our appointment setters could go and actually speak with them. Then we would send the first email with the brochure attached. If I just show you this, pretty basic email. Thank you for downloading our brochure. Please find it attached. If you'd like to book a free design appointment, here it is. So this really was just the first one. We didn't really email too much after that. We just sent them the brochure and then we tried to move everything onto text and we tried to nurture them from there. So pretty basic. And then the text, as you have seen, pretty basic. And then as we go on, the follow-ups that we've used, so we would do an awful lot of follow-ups, right? We would do 10 calls within the first month or so, and we would have internal notifications that would go out to the team. So we would send an email to the appointment tester that was in charge of this, basically saying, hey, now it's time to call the lead. And so they would just be reminded, so every couple of days, and then it would go to every 2 days, and every 5 days, and then it went to after 2 weeks after that or something like that. So we would really follow up on the clients and really call them if they weren't answering. And this is why we're able to convert such a high number of leads, simply because we were pretty persistent, right? And obviously we would tie in the offer that we would have, we would tie in the different things that we use, the different offers that we had for our clients, and this is really how we got a lot of our results, by having such a thorough process. So this was another appointment that we booked here, where basically they booked in straight away, straight from the lead form. It wasn't as if we had to nurture this lead or speak to them. Sometimes they just book in, like I said. So we give them a call, we ask them a couple of questions to basically just make sure they were actually qualified in the first place. They were, and they wanted to actually speak directly with the client because they wanted to arrange something with the appointment. I forget what it was now, but we gave them a phone number, we confirmed it, and these are reminders that we have. And so, pretty simple. It doesn't take a whole lot of stuff. But obviously what you will find is that some of the leads just don't answer at all. That's just the nature of paid advertising. Some of the leads would answer, so every lead that would be a hot lead. But then a lot of times, they wouldn't ever come to something because they weren't ready or something like that. But an awful lot of them, obviously, we would actually convert into bookings. So we had we had 22 leads from 75 bookings there. So we're looking at around about a 29% conversion rate, which is pretty good for the niche, pretty good for the industry. If you're working in other industries, you're going to be able to closer to 50% sometimes. But that is obviously the low ticket stuff that you're doing there. So that makes it a little bit easier to actually book people in for appointments, right? And so this was a pay per appointment model, right? So for each one of these, we're able to charge £100 per appointment, which is like $120. So this was like £2,200 in actual charge that we spent to the client, and they only spent I think there was another campaign as well, they spent like £1,500. So you're talking £1,500 plus the 2,200, you're talking £3,700, and they must have closed, I think they closed about 3 or 4 of these, and the average order value is roughly £10,000, right? So let's say it's about £35,000. You're talking around about a 9 times return on investment there. So with, obviously there's profit margins and stuff like that the client has to go into, but you're looking at around about a 9 times return on investment there, which is pretty good. Obviously, if you can spend £1,000 and get £9,400 back, then that is a pretty good investment in my opinion. And so this is what you really have to do in order to get results that absolutely bang for your clients, right? And you have to have these kind of results so that your clients know that you can actually deliver for them. And a lot of times on sales calls, I would literally do the same thing that I'm doing to you now, and basically just go through this whole system, scroll down through the conversations that we're having, the numbers that we're booking, the appointments that we're booking, and this would actually lead to a better conversion, right? Because this is obviously what clients are looking for. There's so many different agencies out there right now that promise this, they have great offers, but no one actually truly believes them, simply because there's no proof there, right? If you don't have the testimonials in place, then obviously it's going to be pretty difficult for you. You're going to have to work on, some kind of trial basis or commission basis or something like that just to get your first few in. But then once you deliver, insane results for them, or pretty decent results at least, then you can start to say, hey, this is what we've done. And as soon as you do that, your sales is going to be 10, 20 times easier. So if you are struggling to do your own outreach at the moment, you're struggling to sign clients, and you would like some agency to do it for you who has tons of reviews and testimonials, go ahead and click the first link in the description. Don't worry, it's just a video of me trying to sell you something. It's not, some kind of, I'm not going to ask you for your email or your phone number or anything like that. You don't have to click it, of course. If you like what you see and you like this content, you just want to watch this, then obviously that's completely cool. But if you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could go ahead and like it. If you want to see more like this, obviously go ahead and subscribe. And if you want me to cover any specific topic, then obviously comment down below, because we're going to do tons and tons of videos covering different stuff from my old agency and basically anything to do with marketing and SMMA. So yeah, appreciate you watching this one to the end, and take care. Cheers.